Look, check this out. It's a car show down here where I live at, right? I'm on the coast. They always got something on it. Where I live at, that they have cruising the coast, scraping the coast, they have a bunch of car shows, right? And I just left the hospital. My wife just had the baby or whatever, but I gotta run to my house, grab her a few things that I forgot to grab, and then while I'm out, I'm gonna get her something to eat. And as I left the hospital, where I'm at, it'd be a lot of traffic. Like I say, again, it's Saturday, it's the car show. And today's car show is something like scraping the coast, but it's not scraping the coast. A bunch of squatted trucks and, lifted truck. That's what they got, right? And as you riding, you see a lot of younger guys and somewhat older guys. And here's what I come to the realization. When I was growing up, TVs, systems, and rims were popular. But my era was the 20s, the 24s, the 26s, the 28s, the 30s, the 32s. That was my era. Now look at this. As an adult man with a family, you come to the realization. Either you waste your 20s buying all that stuff and then you play catch up in your 30s, or you struggle in your 20s and then in your 30s you're finally able to spend money and buy all that. And then you have some people, they just got money. Their family got money in their 20s and their 30s and their 40s. They always had this nice stuff. Well, I remember growing up with guys, we was all in our 20s, kind of late 20s, kind of mid to late 20s, they was finally able to buy the big rims. And in their late 30s, they're paying for that. And what I mean by they're paying for that, all of their money went to their vehicles and clothes. So they weren't able to buy a house in their mid 20s, late 20s, and they're kind of in their late 30s just not buying a house, which is fine, but this is what you have to look at. The average person will get 70 years on earth, only 70, right? So you, from the outside looking in, you have to sacrifice your 20s and 30s to set yourself up for your 40s, 50s, 60s, and just about 70 for when you leave up out of here. And I'm saying that to say this. I'm telling you, it's guys I know in their 20s, they spent all their money on rims, clothes, and all this stuff. And then in their 30s, they're kind of behind the 8 ball. And a lot of people do this. You spend so much time trying to keep up with trends and fashions, and then you'll come to realization, bro, screw going out every weekend. I got to get up and go to work in the morning. I'm not about to hang out all Friday night, and I know I got to work Saturday morning. So then you do. I remember this one guy, his parents put him out the house. Like I said, again, when I was growing up, a lot of kids was getting kicked out the house because you got to understand, I grew up in the church. And there's a lot of rules you got to abide by when you're growing up in a Christian household. You can't hang out and go to the club and come home drunk and high. Parents just not putting up with that. Either you're going to live right or you're going to get out of here. And that happened to a lot of guys I knew growing up. Well, I remember this one guy in particular. His thing, he just wanted to hang out to 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning. Parents told him, man, you're going to be here at 10 o'clock. You ain't staying out there late. So he got tired of doing that. He wanted to make his own rules. So when he turned 18, he moved out of his parents' house. Well, that first year, oh man, I can hang out, I can have girls over, I can do what I want. And I remember asking him maybe 2, 3 years down the road, he's like, man, I'm going home. Like, bro, you going home? Because my folks didn't care. Like, you want to hang out to 2, 3 in the morning? Hang out to 2, 3 in the morning. And I remember him saying, man, I'm going home. I got to get up and go to work in the morning. I'm like, yeah, so what? I mean, we young. We can go on 4 hours of sleep. But it wasn't about that no more. It was about, man, I got to keep my bills paid. I didn't have that. Oh, okay. And what you realize is you look back in your 20s and you realize how much money you wasted. Because look at this. This is what we're not taught in school. Imagine in your 20s, all the money that you could have invested and got ahead in life. Like, really think about it. Let's just say when you was 20, just not getting into a trade, making $800 a week at 20 years old instead of buying this car and jewelry. Let me put half of this paycheck in a Roth IRA for 5 years, because that's really what I'm fixing to do this first 5 years, is just blow money. And then, but then people say, man, you only live once. Yeah, but you don't want the only time you live is to struggle. Cause see, when I purchased my home, I was 23 years old. The home I'm in now, I purchased that at 23. And look, I had a $35,000 truck and a mortgage payment. Now looking back, I should have bought, honestly, I could have bought two $80,000 houses back then. Today, those two houses would have been worth about $170, $160. And just renting them out. I didn't have no wife and kids. It was just me. And it wasn't a burden for me to live with my parents. I could have had them two houses, feed up. And then, okay, let me get a little older. Let me buy me a house for me and my family. Right now, I could have been up 3 houses. Or I could have put $100,000 in the stock market and quadrupled it. But you don't know what you don't know, because you only live once. But then when you get in your 30s and 40s, everybody complaining about groceries, bills, the economy. The only people that are complaining about the economy is the people who have screwed their money over in their 20s and in their 30s, and the people that's not making enough money. That is the people who is complaining about the economy. You don't see no successful business owners complaining about, man, milk and eggs, $20. Man, I went and got a gallon of milk and a dozen of eggs, $20. They're not complaining about it, because I heard one guy say, as I'm sitting in the hospital, I'm just, looking at different stuff, studying, listening to interviews. I heard one guy say, he said, the middle class people, and I hate it when people say this because it makes sense, but it don't make sense. The middle class people trade their time for money, and that's why every time they pay for something, using the money that they traded their time for, and that's why they feel like, man, I'm working myself to death to pay for everything. He said, instead of creating a system or a business to pay for everything for you, and therefore you have your time back. But again, we're not taught none of this. We learning it on the fly. Like, think about how old you is, the knowledge you have now. If you can go back to just graduating high school with the knowledge you have now, you'll do stuff totally different. And then you fast forward another 10 years, man, if I had this knowledge. The only thing that you can do is take that knowledge and invest it into your children. But guess what? They want to live too. If I had a son and he was 17, 18 today, he would say, Dad, I want a squatted truck. Like, son, why don't you get a truck you can hook a trailer up to? Man, ain't nobody trying to hook no trailer up to no truck. I want a Hellcat. Son, why would I buy you a Hellcat when I get you a truck you can make some money? Man, Dad, I want to live. Man, I don't want to. Screw that. Or your son going to school to be a doctor, but he growing his hair out getting dreads. Son, you look better if you cut your hair. Man, if they gonna judge me for my hair, I don't need the job. A lot of things we don't know in our 20s and 30s. You have to either seek out a mentor or give yourself self-knowledge. Sometimes the wisdom can be planted on you from God. It just depends on how you lining yourself up in life. But that's my time, man. Catch y'all on the